I was watching a movie about the Holocaust titled The US and the Holocaust by PBS. It's very depressing to watch. Also looking at the bureaucracy of how difficult it is to take people from Germany and Europe, Jewish people, to the US. There are lots of bureaucracy, red tapes that made it so difficult. In the meantime, many people killed, 5 million, something like that. So that was just one event, but I don't know why, but I thought about the moment of death, and that is related to Shin Buddhism. And the Saichi, for example, talk about the koku, which means empty sky. And the meaning of it has a connection to Zen, emptiness, vast emptiness, mushin, no mind, empty mind. And that's connected to the awakening and the satori, to sense that there's nothing there. Conceptually, we know there's nothing in terms of what's valuable, we think, as living being. It's empty at the end when we die. So when we realize the emptiness as something that we can relate to as natural, that there's no meaning, the value in life, so to speak. No matter what we do, we die, so we make the best of it. But what comes down to is that if we are comfortable about the emptiness, then you're already there. That when you die, it's nothing. So you go back to nothing from where we started, which is nothing. That's the peace in mind. And Saichi again, for example, Myokonin, often talk about koku, emptiness, empty sky. I also mentioned somewhere a Zen koan of ordinary mind is the way, Joshu and Nanzen, a dialogue, and at the end it gets to the point of emptiness, is what you realize when you find a way. That's flexible mind, ordinary mind. What is ordinary mind? It's emptiness, like a blue sky. So what Saichi says and what the Zen talks about, and the idea of emptiness, is the moment of awakening that I have too. My body, I feel, is empty. It may not sound good, but transparency is another word I can use. Yet in that empty being I am, there is this living being, almost like a superimposed and alive. And for that realization, awareness of being alive, give me a sense of nature's way of how I'm functioning. All the cells are moving around and making things happen. Digest food, blood circulate. When get injured, it heals, so that there's this liveliness is upon this emptiness that I am. And as much as Saichi talk about the koku, emptiness, when he is replaced by Amida Buddha, when he say Namida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. So whatever the reason is, this Shin Buddhism and Zen has a connection with this idea of emptiness as the experiential wisdom, the realization that we have when we are awakened. Because mind doesn't want to be empty. Mind wants to do something because that's the function of the mind, to live better, but at the end it runs out, go back to the emptiness. So the realization of the emptiness is at the core of Buddha's teaching. And the emptiness also is reflecting the law of nature. And that sense is nothing negative when you are awakened and you feel comfortable with nothing. And that's beyond the logic coming out of the mind. And you would try to escape, that's the function of the mind. But the superimposing rule of the universe is everything is impermanent. It goes to nothing. There's no self. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Empty, empty, empty. Yet we are playing the game of God as alive, and we see that. So that's the paradox of being alive as empty being. And this cannot be explained by the word. But for example, if Eckhart Tolle talk about his famous point of power of now, is at the moment, if we are aware of what's going on at each moment, then you have the no mind, and you get to the sense of emptiness, vast emptiness. So he goes from his experience, the same point from Zen or Shin Buddhism. I'm just picking up those two examples, one from Saichi and one from Joshu. But that's basically is at the bottom, that I see it, I read it, and I resonate to that sense. Everything is empty, yet empty is everything. Every event is empty, and in emptiness is every event. That's a famous sutra, Prajna Sutra, Buddha's awakening. So we are empty at the core, and that's how the universe is manifesting, yet we are alive. So sensing the aliveness is also a phenomena, comes with the awakening experience. And the awakening experience is the one to go beyond the limit of the mind, which tried to survive. But it's a fake notion of it. It's good to have the mind to try to survive, because that's how we can evolve further. But there's a limit. Most people don't want to see what's beyond death or even think about death. But at the end, that's what it is. So back to Holocaust. It is a horrible situation that happens or happened and may happen. It happens, so there's another chance of happening. It may be in our genes. But if you are at the last moment in Auschwitz, accepting everything as it's facing death. That's why I thought about this koku, emptiness, as I finished watching the movie. We tried to do our best using a mind and share the sadness, lessons we can learn from the Holocaust. But there's genes in us. So as much as like in population of the prison, most of them are men compared to women. So there's something about the biological structure of who we are. And there's lots of effort to be made if we were able. But in the meantime, and also there's no guarantee that things going to happen, so be pragmatic, practicing the spiritual path. Be aware of being empty, as much as Saichi, Shoma, and other Myokonin throw themselves away for Amida Buddha to take over, which is the same as the nature, law of nature to take over. They empty themselves and taken over by the law of nature or Amida Buddha. All the religion at the base, I see, have similar notion. Meister Eckhart talked about if you have suffering, but if you have faith in God, you don't feel it. Which is the same notion as Amida Buddha in Shin Buddhism, as far as I can tell. So the notion of koku, or empty sky, or emptiness, empty mind, no self, it's very difficult if we use our mind to know what it is. But along with the conceptual idea of we go back to empty, and out of emptiness everything starts. That's one way to think about it. But beyond the thinking, experientially, be awakened that that statement is correct. And that's the nature's way. As much as Saichi appreciate the compassion from Amida Buddha, we may find a way, no matter how horrible the situation may be. There's no guarantee that Holocaust does not happen again. There are lots of unknowns for that purpose too. All the suffering that I've seen in the movie was crazy. But that's part of who we are. As much as I or you may feel suffering because of what happens, relationship with each other, or health issue, unknown things happen. I think it's good to have this realization of emptiness as a base of who we are, so that we can live our life appreciating whatever we can. And when we have suffering, difficulties hit, as much as at the end of life, we move on, die to zero, emptiness. We might want to study or think about it. And of course, the idea is not within the realm of mind, but beyond. So, certain realization from Zen, Christianity, or Shin Buddhism may be meaningful as much as Tolle's teaching and others who talk about the importance of living in the now, which is connecting to no self, no mind, but be aware. Thank you.